Remain exactly where you are, without preparing yourself for action or tension. Because this story does not arrive as a clash of force or noise. It arrives softly, the way important things often do at night, when the world slows enough to listen. The story of David and Goliath is usually told with urgency, with raised voices and sharpened focus. But tonight, it unfolds differently. Tonight, it becomes a quiet battle, retold not as conflict, but as calm presence meeting overwhelming size without fear. This is not a story about violence. It is a story about stillness standing its ground. The night understands this story instinctively, because the night itself is often misunderstood as weakness. Darkness is mistaken for absence. Silence is mistaken for surrender. Yet the night holds immense strength precisely because it does not rush to prove itself. In the same way, David does not enter the valley with force or spectacle. He arrives with steadiness, with a calm that does not need permission, with a presence shaped long before the battle ever existed. Before there was a giant, there was quiet preparation. Before the valley, there were long nights watching sheep under open skies, listening to the wind, learning patience from stars that did not move quickly. David's strength was not formed in the moment of confrontation. It was formed in stillness, in repetition, in trust that did not need witnesses. This is why the battle can be quiet. The work has already been done. Goliath stands tall, loud, and certain of his size. His voice fills the valley. His armor reflects attention. Everything about him is designed to intimidate and awaken fear. But fear requires participation, and David does not participate. He does not argue with the noise. He does not match volume with volume. He remains grounded, as calm as the earth beneath his feet, carrying no urgency into the space where urgency is expected. This is how the night reframes the story. The battle is not between a boy and a giant. It is between noise and calm, between size and steadiness, between force and trust. And trust, when it is quiet, does not need to hurry. David does not rush forward. He does not linger either. He simply moves when it is time, without agitation, without hesitation, without the inner conflict that keeps others awake at night. As Julist in the valley becomes less a place of danger and more a wide, open space where everything unnecessary falls away, the noise fades, the expectations dissolve. What remains is a simple alignment between intention and action. This alignment is deeply restful to the mind because it removes the burden of choice. There is no debate here. There is no internal struggle. There is only clarity that does not raise its voice. The night wraps this story gently, removing sharp edges and loud interpretations. It reminds you that many of the battles you carry are loud only because they are fought with tension. When tension releases, battles often lose their power. David does not defeat the giant by becoming louder, stronger, or more aggressive. He defeats fear by refusing to carry it at all. As the body settles, this story does not ask you to imagine the moment of impact. It asks you to rest in the moment before it. The moment where nothing has happened yet, and everything is already decided. That moment is where peace lives. That moment is where the nervous system releases its grip. That moment is where sleep begins to feel safe. The night has always been the place where a quiet courage is formed. Not courage that shouts, but courage that remains. David belongs to the night more than to the battlefield. And tonight, this story belongs to rest more than to conflict. The valley grows still. The noise loses its meaning, and calm stands where fear expected resistance. BLOCK2WHEN. The valley becomes quiet, and fear has nowhere to echo. The valley where David and Goliath stand is often imagined as a place of tension and anticipation, but at night it transforms into something else entirely. In the stillness, the valley becomes wide, open, and quiet, a space where sound dissipates instead of multiplying. Valleys do not amplify calm the way they amplify noise, And when calm enters first, it settles deeply into the ground and stays there. This is the kind of space David walks into, not carrying urgency, not bracing for impact, but grounded enough that the size of the place does not overwhelm him. The night changes how fear behaves in the valley. During the day, fear echoes, grows louder, and feels impossible to escape. At night, fear has fewer places to hide. Without the energy of crowds and voices, fear loses momentum. It becomes something that rises briefly and then falls back into silence. David does not try to silence fear. He simply allows the valley to remain quiet enough that fear cannot sustain itself. As you listen, the valley begins to resemble the inner spaces where worry usually gathers. Thoughts that once felt large to lose their edges here. They have room to spread out and then dissolve. The mind no longer feels trapped between walls of anticipation. Instead, it rests in openness, where nothing presses inward. This openness is deeply soothing to the nervous system, because it removes the sensation of being cornered by expectation. David's calm presence does not compete with Goliath's size, because competition would require tension. Instead, David stands in alignment with the space itself. His posture is not rigid. His breathing is not shallow. He is not rehearsing outcomes. He's present in a way that feels almost effortless. This presence changes the atmosphere of the valley before anything else changes. Calm, once established, becomes difficult to disturb. The giant's voice attempts to fill the space, but the night absorbs sound differently. Words lose their sharpness. Threats lose their weight. The valley does not carry noise forward the way fear expects it to. It receives it and lets it fall. This teaches the body something subtle but powerful. Not every loud thought deserves attention, and not every internal voice needs a response. In the quiet of the valley, David's trust becomes visible without display. It is not announced. It does not require explanation. Trust here is not an emotion. It is a settled state. The mind recognizes this kind of trust as safety, because safety does not argue or persuade. It simply exists. When safety is present, the nervous system stops preparing for impact and begins to release. The night reframes the meaning of confrontation. Instead of two forces moving toward collision, there is one steady presence and one restless noise. The valley itself sides with stillness, because stillness belongs to the land, to the earth, to the night. Noise arrives temporarily. Calm remains. As this understanding settles, the body begins to mirror the valley's openness. Shoulders loosen slightly. The jaw relaxes. Breathing becomes slower without instruction. The mind stops scanning for the next moment. It rests in the space before action. The space where nothing has happened yet and nothing needs to be managed. The valley is not a place of waiting in this retelling. It is a place of resolution already formed beneath awareness. David does not need to hurry, because the outcome does not depend on speed. It depends on alignment. Alignment with the moment, alignment with trust, alignment with a calm that does not rise or fall with circumstances. As the night continues, the valley fades from being a location and becomes a condition where fear cannot echo, where noise cannot dominate, and where presence remains steady regardless of what appears. This condition is deeply restful, because it removes the need for vigilance. The valley remains quiet. Fear finds no surface to reflect itself, and calm settles so deeply that nothing needs to move yet. As the valley remains quiet, David's inner world mirrors the same openness, free from the tightening that usually precedes conflict. There is no rehearsal of fear, no mental dialogue weighing possibilities, no attempt to calculate outcomes. His stillness is not something he creates in response to the giant. It is something that already exists, something carried into the valley rather than formed there. This kind of stillness does not fluctuate with circumstances, and because it is already present, it does not need to be defended. The night reveals how rare this state truly is. Most battles feel heavy because the mind arrives already tense, already preparing, for resistance. David arrives without that preparation. His breathing remains even. His body does not brace. His awareness is wide enough to include the entire valley without becoming overwhelmed by it. This wide awareness allows everything else to soften. When awareness does not narrow, fear cannot sharpen. In this quiet retelling, David does not focus on the size of the giant, because size only matters when it is measured against doubt. There is no comparison happening here. There is no internal scale weighing weakness against strength. There is only presence meeting the moment as it is. This absence of comparison is deeply calming, because comparison is one of the primary sources of mental agitation. Without it, the mind has nothing to push against. The valley continues to absorb sound, and with it, absorbs expectation. The giant's presence no longer feels like a threat that must be addressed. It feels like noise that has already lost its relevance. The night teaches that noise cannot survive without attention. When attention remains soft and ungrasping, noise fades on its own. David does not silence the giant. He simply does not carry the sound inward. This inward quiet spreads gently through the body of the listener as well. The muscles that often tighten in anticipation remain loose. The breath flows without interruption. The subtle habit of waiting for something to go wrong begins to dissolve. The mind learns, quietly and without instruction, that not every moment requires readiness. Some moments require only presence. David's trust deepens here, not as belief that something specific will happen, but as confidence that nothing needs to be forced. Trust, in this sense, is not expectation, it is release. It is the willingness to remain calm, even when outcomes are unknown. This kind of trust feels safe to the nervous system because it removes the pressure to control. As the night holds this moment, the idea of battle becomes increasingly distant. What remains is alignment. Alignment between body and ground. Alignment between breath and stillness. Alignment between intention and timing. When alignment is present, action no longer needs urgency. It will arise naturally when needed, without pulling awareness out of rest. The valley now feels almost suspended, as if time itself is slowed enough to stop pressing forward. There is no sense that something must happen next. This suspension is not tension, it is spaciousness. Spaciousness allows the mind to rest without scanning for the next cue. The body accepts this suspension completely, settling deeper into stillness. In this state, even courage takes on a different meaning. Courage is no longer about confronting danger. It is about remaining calm when calm would normally be lost. David's courage does not rise. It remains, and remaining is easier to rest within than rising, because it does not require energy. As awareness softens further, the story continues beneath consciousness. The valley remains quiet. The inner world remains open. There is no need to follow the narrative closely. The tone and rhythm are enough. The body continues to release, responding not to words, but to the absence of pressure carried by them. The moment before action stretches gently, without edge or demand. The night protects this stretch, allowing it to remain unresolved and peaceful. This unresolved calm is where rest deepens most naturally, because nothing is being concluded and nothing is being prepared. The valley holds stillness. Inner quiet remains unbroken, and presence settles so deeply that action no longer needs to arrive yet. BLOCK 3WHEN. Preparation arises quietly and nothing feels forced. As the stillness of the valley holds, David's preparation does not appear as a separate moment marked by effort or urgency. It emerges naturally from the calm that is already present. The way a slow breath follows another without decision. There is no dramatic pause, no gathering of intensity. What he does next feels inevitable rather than deliberate, as if the body already knows how to move when the mind is no longer interfering. This kind of preparation does not wake the nervous system, it reassures it. David does not add weight to himself with armor that does not belong to him. He notices its heaviness without judgment and sets it aside without struggle. This is not rejection, it is recognition. The night understands this gesture deeply, because rest itself often begins when the body lets go of what it was never meant to carry. There is relief in this simplicity, and relief spreads quietly through the listener as well, loosening places that have been holding unnecessary tension. The movement of choosing what is needed feels slow and unremarkable. There is no checklist. There is no internal conversation debating readiness. David's attention remains soft, open enough to include the ground beneath his feet and the air around him without narrowing onto the giant ahead. This softness prevents anticipation from taking root. Without anticipation, the body does not tighten. Without tightening, rest continues uninterrupted. As he bends to the stream, the water does not rush. It flows steadily, reflecting the same calm that has been present all along. The stones are smooth, shaped over time by patience rather than force. David's hand moves without haste, selecting what fits naturally rather than what appears impressive. This moment carries no urgency, because urgency would imply doubt. Here, there is only alignment between need and action. The act of preparation remains grounded and quiet, almost ordinary. There is nothing here that demands attention or invites excitement. The night frames this simplicity as strength, because simplicity does not scatter energy, it concentrates it without strain. The body recognizes this pattern instinctively and mirrors it by remaining settled, by allowing muscles to stay loose and breath to remain slow and even. David's focus never narrows into fixation. He is aware, but not tense. Present, but not braced. This balance is deeply soothing to the mind, because it demonstrates that readiness does not require vigilance. When movement arises from calm, it does not pull awareness out of rest. It flows alongside it. The preparation does not feel like a step toward conflict. It feels like continuation. Continuation of trust, continuation of presence, continuation of the quiet rhythm the night has already established. There is no sense of building toward a peak. The story remains level, steady, and open, allowing the listener to remain disengaged without losing the thread. As the body listens, it begins to release the habit of over-preparing internally. There is no need to rehearse outcomes here. No need to anticipate impact. The mind learns, gently and without instruction, that preparation can exist without anxiety. That action can arise without disturbing rest. The valley remains quiet as this simple movement completes itself. Nothing shifts dramatically. Nothing accelerates. The moment does not announce that something important has been decided. It simply continues, held by the same calm that has been present from the beginning. This quiet preparation does not conclude. It settles back into stillness, leaving the body and mind exactly where they are, supported by simplicity that does not demand attention and readiness that does not disturb rest. As the simple acts of preparation complete themselves, nothing remains in motion long enough to draw attention. The body returns naturally to stillness, not because movement has ended, but because movement has fulfilled its purpose without leaving residue. There is no tension left behind, no sense that something must be held or guarded. The night receives this return to stillness gently, allowing the moment to expand rather than close. David does not stand waiting in anticipation. He does not measure the distance ahead or rehearse what comes next. His posture remains easy, grounded, and unremarkable. The body understands this posture as safety, because safety does not require readiness. It requires trust that the present moment is sufficient. This trust does not announce itself. It simply remains. The valley continues to hold silence in a way that feels supportive rather than empty. Sound does not travel far here. Thoughts do not either. If awareness drifts briefly toward the idea of what might happen, it does not stay there. It returns naturally to the quiet space beneath everything, the space that has been present since the beginning of the night. This return does not require effort. It happens because there is nothing else pulling attention forward. The preparation now feels almost forgotten, as if it never happened at all. What remains is alignment rather than readiness. Alignment does not need to be maintained consciously. It exists as long as nothing interferes with it. The night protects this alignment by removing urgency, by softening edges, by allowing time to stretch without direction. As the listener rests within this moment, the body mirrors the same pattern. Muscles remain loose without instruction. The breath continues at its own quiet pace, unremarkable and steady. The subtle habit of waiting for the next cue dissolves further. There is no cue to wait for. There is only continuation without demand. David's presence does not sharpen into focus. It diffuses gently into the valley, blending with the ground, the air, and the stillness around him. This blending removes the sense of separation that often feels tension. When there is no separation, there is nothing to defend. The mind recognizes this and releases another layer of holding. The story does not push forward here. It lingers in the space where nothing needs to happen yet. This lingering is not delay. It is completeness. Completeness does not rush toward resolution. It remains exactly where it is. The night understands this deeply and reinforces it by remaining unchanged. Even the idea of a battle continues to fade. What remains is a quiet readiness that does not disturb rest. A readiness that feels more like patience than preparation. Patience does not pull awareness into the future. It anchors it gently in the present. As this state continues, the words of the story soften further. They no longer carry narrative weight. They become part of the same quiet background as breath and stillness. Listening becomes optional. Awareness drifts freely without assembling into thought. The valley holds this calm without interruption. Movement has returned to rest, and presence remains steady, without needing to advance or conclude. BLOCK4. When the approach feels natural and calm moves without urgency. As the stillness holds, the moment of approach does not announce itself with tension or acceleration. It arrives quietly, the way the night deepens without a signal, the way a shadow lengthens without effort. David does not decide to move forward as much as he allows movement to happen. There is no internal command, no surge of determination, no tightening that precedes action. Calm has already aligned everything, and alignment carries the body forward without disturbance. The distance between David and the giant does not feel charged. It feels neutral, like space that is simply there to be crossed when the time is right. The valley does not narrow. It remains open and accommodating, allowing movement without pressure. The night absorbs the sound of steps so completely that even motion feels silent. This silence reassures the nervous system, because silence means nothing is chasing and nothing is being pursued. As David moves, his awareness does not lock onto a target. It stays wide and receptive, including ground, air, and presence, all at once. This wide awareness prevents urgency from forming. Urgency requires narrowing. Expands. When awareness expands, movement loses its edge and becomes smooth, almost indistinguishable from stillness. The giant remains where he is, large and loud in other tellings, but here, his size does not dominate the space. Size loses its power when it is not measured against fear. Without fear, scale becomes abstract. David does not carry comparison with him as he moves. There is no internal dialogue asking whether he is enough. The absence of that question keeps the body relaxed and the breath even. The approach does not feel like a step toward conflict. It feels like continuation of the same calm that has been present since the beginning of the night. Continuation does not wake the mind. It does not require attention. It flows beneath awareness, allowing rest to remain intact even as movement occurs. The body of the listener begins to mirror this pattern instinctively. Any lingering tension around anticipation softens. The sense of waiting for something to happen dissolves. The mind learns that movement does not always signal danger or demand engagement. Sometimes movement is simply what happens next. without consequence. Time stretches gently here. There is no countdown, no sense of nearing a decisive moment. The approach exists outside of measurement. It does not feel fast or slow. It feels appropriate. Appropriateness is deeply calming because it removes judgments. Nothing is too early. Nothing is too late. David's calm does not intensify as he moves. It remains steady, unchanged by proximity. This steadiness is what makes the approach feel inevitable rather than dramatic. When calm remains constant, outcomes feel settled long before they occur. The nervous system recognizes this and releases any remaining impulse to brace. The valley continues to hold space rather than echo sound. Words, if spoken, would fall into the ground and disappear. Thoughts do the same. If the mind begins to imagine what comes next, the imagination does not gain traction. It fades back into quiet as quickly as it arose. As the approach continues, the story remains leveled and unmarked. There is no shift in tone to signal importance. Importance here does not need emphasis. It exists quietly, embedded in the steadiness of presence. The night supports this by remaining unchanged, allowing rest to deepen even as the story moves forward. The approach does not conclude in this moment. It does not resolve or culminate. It simply continues, calmly, held within the same quiet rhythm, leaving the body and mind settled, unhurried, and undisturbed. As the space between David and the giant continues to close, the sensation remains unchanged, steady and unremarkable, as if distance itself were losing meaning. Nearness does not introduce urgency. It does not sharpen awareness or demand precision. The night allows closeness to exist without tension, teaching the body that proximity does not always equal danger. When the mind no longer reacts to closeness, the body remains relaxed and the breath stays even. David's movement does not accelerate as he draws nearer. It remains measured and calm, guided not by calculation but by alignment. There is no internal tightening that signals readiness for impact. Instead, there is continuity, a smooth unfolding that feels inevitable rather than intentional. This inevitability is deeply restful because it removes the need to decide. When movement happens on its own, the nervous system does not have to intervene. The giant's presence does not grow louder here. Sound loses its authority as the night absorbs it. Even the idea of confrontation fades, replaced by a quiet sense that everything is already settled beneath the surface. The valley does not hold tension between two forces. It holds stillness that is room for both without conflict. This spaciousness dissolves the expectation of collision. As awareness softens further, the concept of threat becomes abstract. Without emotional charge, threat cannot sustain itself. The body recognizes this and releases another layer of vigilance. Muscles that might normally brace remain loose. The jaw stays relaxed. The chest remains open without effort. Breathing continues quietly, almost imperceptibly. The approach now feels less like moving towards something and more like moving within something that has always been present. David does not enter a new state as he comes closer. He remains in the same calm that carried him from the beginning. This consistency prevents the mind from marking the moment as significant. Without significance, attention does not spike. Time stretches further here, losing its linear quality. There is no sense of almost there. The moment does not peak or intensify. It simply exists. This timelessness is deeply soothing because it removes anticipation. When there is no anticipation, there is no reason to stay alert. The listener's body mirrors this pattern naturally. Any remaining sense of waiting dissolves. The mind no longer leans forward. It rests within the ongoing continuity of the story, allowing words to pass beneath awareness without forming images or expectations. Listening becomes passive and optional. David's calm remains unbroken, even in closeness. This calm does not confront or oppose. It holds space without resistance. Resistance would require energy. Holding does not. The night favors holding. because holding sustains rest. As the approach continues, without escalation, the story gently detaches from outcome. What happens next no longer feels relevant. Relevance is what pulls the mind into the future. Without it, the present becomes sufficient. Sufficiency allows sleep to deepen naturally. There is no signal here that something decisive is about to occur. No shift in tone, no change in rhythm. Everything remains level, smooth, and quiet. The approach blends seamlessly into the same stillness that has been present from the beginning. The space remains calm. Closeness carries no urgency, and rest continues, undisturbed by proximity or expectation. Block 5, WHEN. Release happens without force, and everything unfolds quietly. As the moment arrives, it does not announce itself with intensity or sudden change. There's no sharp shift in the air, no tightening in the body, no spike of attention demanding to be awake. What unfolds does so the way a held breath releases on its own, gently and without instruction. David does not brace for release, and he does not aim with urgency. The movement that occurs is simple, clean, and unburdened by effort, arising from the same calm that has been present all along. The sling does not feel like a weapon here. It feels like an extension of natural motion, a continuation of rhythm rather than an instrument of force. There is no dramatic preparation, no tension gathering in the arm, no inner countdown. The body moves as bodies do when they are not interrupted by doubt. Motion completes itself and then dissolves, leaving no residue of strain behind. The night holds this moment carefully, smoothing its edges so completely that even the idea of impact loses relevance. What matters here is not contact, but release. Release of waiting, release of anticipation, release of the subtle holding that often accompanies moments of decision. The nervous system recognizes this release and responds by settling even deeper, because release signals safety rather than danger. David's focus does not narrow at the moment of movement. It remains wide and open, allowing the action to pass through without pulling awareness forward. This openness prevents the mind from clinging to outcome. Without clinging, the body does not tense. Without tension, the moment remains quiet. The giant size does not dominate this unfolding. Scale has already lost its meaning. There is no sense of overcoming or conquering. There is only alignment resolving itself naturally. The story does not dwell on consequence. It remains centered on the ease with which something long prepared finally completes itself. As the listener rests within this moment, the body mirrors the same release. Muscles soften further. The breath deepens slightly and then returns to its natural rhythm. The mind stops holding the idea that something important must be followed. Importance has dissolved into neutrality. The night reframes what resolution looks like. Resolution does not require noise, celebration, or emphasis. It can arrive quietly and then disappear, leaving calm exactly as it was before. This understanding is deeply soothing, because it removes the fear that resolution will wake the mind. The release does not mark an ending. It does not signal that the story has reached its peak. It feels more like a gentle exhale within an ongoing breath. Nothing accelerates afterward. Nothing needs to be processed. The moment passes and leaves stillness intact. As awareness softens further, the details of what occurred lose clarity. This loss of clarity is not confusion. It is rest deepening. The body does not need to remember the specifics of release. It only needs to remain in the calm that follows. The valley absorbs the moment completely. Sound does not echo. Meaning does not linger. Everything settles back into the same quiet openness that held the story from the beginning, allowing rest to continue uninterrupted. The release has happened. Nothing tightens in response, and calm remains, undisturbed and sufficient. After the release has unfolded and passed, there is no surge of sound, no rush of movement, and no shift that calls attention back to the moment. The valley does not respond dramatically. It does not echo or amplify what has occurred. Instead, It absorbs it completely, the way soft ground receives a footprint and then slowly smooths itself again. This absence of reaction allows the body to remain exactly where it is, without waking to assess or respond. David does not pause to observe results. Observation would require focus, and focus would narrow the calm that has been sustained throughout the night. Instead, his presence remains wide and unchanged. The action does not pull him forward or backward. It dissolves into the same stillness that preceded it. This continuity is deeply reassuring to the nervous system, because it confirms that movement does not necessarily disrupt rest. The giant's presence fades without emphasis. There is no sense of collapse, no sound that needs to be interpreted. The story does not linger on consequence. Consequence belongs to the mind that needs closure. Here, closure is unnecessary. What has resolved does not need to be reviewed or understood. It simply no longer occupies space. As this quiet aftermath settles, the body mirrors the same pattern. Any residual alertness that might have surfaced releases fully. Muscles soften further. The breath returns to its most effortless rhythm, shallow and even, without pauses needing to be noticed. The mind does not reach for meaning. It allows the moment to pass without imprint. The valley now feels even more open than before, not because something has changed, but because nothing remains charged. Charge is what holds attention. Without charge, attention drifts naturally back into rest. The night supports this drift by remaining unchanged, steady, and neutral. David's calm does not transform into triumph or relief. Both would imply emotional movement. Instead, calm remains calm. This constancy removes the need for emotional processing. When emotions do not spike, the nervous system remains settled, and sleep continues, uninterrupted. The listener's awareness follows the same path. There is no urge to replay the moment or anticipate what follows. The story no longer feels like a sequence of events. It feels like a continuous field where nothing stands out. This lack of distinction is deeply restful, because the mind rests best when there is nothing to single out. Time stretches again, losing its markers. The idea of after becomes indistinct. There is only continuation without direction. The night does not move toward anything. It simply holds what is present and allows it to fade gently. Sound, including the sound of words, blends further into silence. Meaning softens until it becomes secondary to tone and rhythm. Listening no longer feels active. It becomes part of the same quiet background as breath and stillness. As this state continues, even the memory of action fades. What remains is an even, unbroken calm that does not require awareness to sustain itself. The body accepts this fully, allowing rest to deepen without resistance. The valley remains quiet and open. Nothing reacts, and stillness holds everything so completely that nothing needs to be remembered. Block 6. When quiet returns fully and the world nitrogen monoxide longer holds events. As the valley settles after what has passed, there is no sense that anything needs to follow. The moment does not lead into explanation, reaction, or movement forward. It simply dissolves into the same quiet that has held the night from the beginning. The land remains unchanged. The air remains still, and the space where action briefly existed no longer carries any imprint that would draw attention back to it. This return to quiet feels complete, as if nothing had ever needed to happen at all. David does not carry the moment with him. He does not revisit it internally, and he does not attach meaning that would keep awareness engaged. His presence remains steady, unaltered by what is resolved. This steadiness communicates something deeply calming to the body. Resolution does not require reflection. Peace does not require explanation. When something is finished, it can be allowed to fade without being held. The night reinforces this by remaining unchanged. Darkness does not shift. Sound does not reappear. There is no gathering of voices, no surge of movement. The world does not react, because reaction would create a new center of attention. Instead, everything returns to neutrality, a state where nothing stands out enough to be followed. The nervous system recognizes this neutrality as safety and relaxes even further. As awareness softens, the valley becomes less a place and more feeling of openness without edges. There is no boundary marking where something occurred and where it did not. Space feels even and continuous. This evenness allows the mind to stop organizing experience. Without organization, there is nothing to hold on to, and without holding, rest deepens naturally. The body mirrors this return to quiet instinctively. Muscles that were already relaxed release even more subtly. Breathing continues quietly, shallow and even, without pause or emphasis. The chest does not rise fully, and it does not need to. The body has settled into a rhythm that requires no supervision. The story itself now begins to lose its narrative quality. It no longer feels like a sequence of moments. It feels like an environment that remains consistent regardless of attention. Words pass through awareness without forming images or expectations. Listening becomes something that happens beneath consciousness rather than within it. Time loses another layer of definition here. There is no sense of after or before. The night does not move forward. It remains. This remaining removes the final impulse to stay alert. When nothing is progressing, there is nothing to monitor. David's presence blends further into the environment. There is no distinction between the one who acted and the space that holds him. This blending removes identity from the center of experience. Without identity at the center, there is no story to follow, and the mind rests more easily. The return to quiet is not gradual. It is immediate and complete. Nothing lingers. Nothing echoes. The moment has already been absorbed fully into stillness. This completeness reassures the nervous system that it can disengage without risk. As this state continues, awareness may drift entirely without any sense of losing track. There is nothing to track. The valley remains open. The night remains steady. And the story continues. Not as events, but as calm that does not change. As the quiet continues to hold everything evenly, the sense of story itself begins to soften and lose importance. What once felt like a sequence of moments now feels more like a steady background, unchanged and uninterested in progression. There is no pull toward remembering what happened, and no impulse to imagine what might come next. The mind no longer treats the narrative as something to follow. It allows it to exist without engagement, the way distant sound exists without requiring attention. The valley no longer feels like a place where anything occurred. It feels like open space without markers, where nothing stands out enough to be named. This absence of distinction is deeply restful, because distinction is what creates focus, and focus is what keeps awareness awake. Without anything to distinguish, awareness naturally loosens its grip and drifts inward. David's presence has now blended completely into the stillness around him. There is no figure to track, no posture to observe, no identity to hold in mind. What remains is simply calm existing within calm. This blending removes the final trace of narrative tension. When there's no one acting and nothing happening, the mind has no role left to perform. The night supports this fading by remaining consistent and unchanging. Darkness does not shift. Silence does not deepen or lighten. Everything stays at the same quiet level, predictable and steady. Predictability at this depth becomes comfort, because comfort does not require vigilance. The nervous system recognizes that nothing unexpected will occur and releases even the faintest readiness it might still be carrying. The body responds by settling further into its most effortless state. Muscles remain loose, without any sense of being held in position. The breath continues quietly, almost unnoticeable, without rhythm or depth needing to be observed. The chest rises and falls just enough to sustain itself. Heartbeat remains present, but indistinct, no longer a signal that registers in awareness. Time dissolves further here, losing any sense of movement or direction. There is no feeling of waiting or passing. The night does not feel long or short. It feels still. This stillness removes the last condition that could support wakefulness. When time is no longer perceived, there is nothing to anticipate and nothing to measure. Words, if noticed at all, arrive only as gentle tone. Meaning has softened completely. Listening does not feel active or intentional. It is something that happens beneath consciousness, like a current moving under calm water. Awareness floats briefly on the surface and then sinks again without effort. The story has now fully released its hold. It no longer functions as narrative or message. It functions as atmosphere, steady and unchanging, designed not to be followed but to be rested within. The mind accepts this naturally and steps aside. As this state continues, even the idea of resting fades. There is no contrast between rest and activity. Because activity is no longer a reference point, there is only the absence of disturbance. This absence is complete enough that it sustains itself without attention. Nothing returns to interrupt this quiet. Nothing restarts the story. Nothing asks to be remembered. The valley remains open and neutral. The night remains steady, and sleep continues, supported by a condition where nothing needs to happen and nothing needs to be held. Block 7 WHEN continuity becomes the only structure and nothing needs to be held. As the quiet has fully established itself and no trace of narrative remains active, the night settles into a condition where nothing needs to be supported consciously. There is no sense of something ending and nothing beginning. What remains is continuity itself, steady and unbroken, holding the body and mind without requiring attention. This continuity does not feel heavy or dense. It feels neutral, stable, and reliable, like a background that does not change regardless of whether it is noticed. In this state, the body no longer registers itself as something that exists in parts. There is no clear awareness of limbs, posture, or position. The surface beneath the body does not stand out as separate from the body itself. Support has become implicit rather than felt. Muscles remain loose without instruction, not because they are being relaxed, but because there is no signal asking them to hold. The nervous system has stepped fully out of readiness and into maintenance-free rest. Breathing continues quietly and evenly, shallow and unremarkable, without rhythm needing to be followed or corrected. There is no sense of inhaled beginning or exhale ending. Breath feels continuous rather than cyclical. This continuity reinforces safety, because cycles often imply transition, and transition can invite alertness. Here, nothing transitions, everything remains. The mind no longer assembles experience into thoughts or observations. If impressions arise, they remain incomplete, without edges or meaning, dissolving before they can form structure. There is no awareness of letting go, because there is nothing being held. Awareness itself has softened into something diffuse and intermittent, appearing briefly and then fading again without consequence or orientation. Time has lost any remaining reference point. There is no sense of waiting, passing, or duration. The night does not feel like it is moving forward or stretching on. It feels still, as if time itself has become inactive. This absence of temporal movement removes the final condition that could support wakefulness. Without time to track, the mind has nothing to do. Sound exists only as even texture. Words no longer arrive as language or information. They do not form sentences in awareness. They exist as tone, steady and predictable, blending seamlessly into silence. Listening is no longer an action. It is simply part of the same field as rest, breath, and stillness. The sense of self has softened to the point where it no longer occupies the center of experience. There is no clear observer and nothing being observed. Experience exists without reference to identity. The body rests, the mind is quiet, and there is no need to label or recognize either condition. This lack of reference removes the final layer of cognitive engagement. At this depth, even the idea of resting has lost relevance. Rest is no longer something happening. It is simply what remains when disturbance is absent. There is no contrast between rest and activity, because activity is no longer a reference point. The nervous system recognizes this state as complete and does not attempt to modify or improve it. Nothing prepares to return. Nothing signals a shift. There is no edge to this condition that would invite awareness to orient itself again. The night holds everything evenly and continuously, allowing sleep to sustain itself without effort, attention, or memory. As continuity remains uninterrupted, there is no longer any internal signal asking awareness to orient itself. The body does not search for position, and the mind does not search for meaning. Everything that once created reference points has softened into neutrality. This neutrality is not emptiness, it is fullness without distinction, a state where nothing stands out enough to require attention. The night holds this state steadily, without variation, allowing the system to remain disengaged without effort. The body exists now as a single, undifferentiated presence, rather than a collection of parts. There is no clear boundary between where the body ends and the surface beneath it begins. Sensation has flattened into something uniform and backgrounded, without edges that might pull awareness back toward form. Muscles remain released not because they are relaxed, but because there is no signal instructing them to contract. The nervous system is fully shifted into a mode where maintenance happens without supervision. Breathing continues in a way that feels almost absent, not because it has stopped, but because it no longer registers as an event. There is no beginning or ending to the breath that awareness can locate. Air moves quietly, evenly, without rhythm needing to be tracked. This absence of noticeable rhythm removes another potential anchor for wakefulness. When the breath does not ask to be noticed, attention has nothing to return to. The mind no longer organizes experience into sequence, memory, or expectation. Thoughts do not form lines. They do not develop content. If impressions appear at all, they remain fragmentary and dissolve immediately, leaving no trace. There is no sense of letting go of thought, because thought is no longer something being held. Awareness itself becomes diffuse, intermittent, and optional, appearing briefly and fading again without assembling into orientation. Time has fully lost its role as a structuring force. There is no sense of duration passing, no feeling of waiting, no internal measurement of night or rest. The absence of time removes the final condition necessary for anticipation. Without anticipation, there is nothing to prepare for. And without preparation, the system remains fully settled. Sound exists only as even texture, indistinguishable from silence. Words, if they are perceived at all, do not arrive as language. They arrive as gentle consistency, predictable and unchanging, blending into the same quiet field as stillness. Listening does not feel active. It does not feel passive either. It simply no longer matters. The sense of self is now dissolved to the point of irrelevance. There is no internal center observing experience. There is no boundary separating inner and outer. Experience exists without ownership, steady and neutral. Identity does not disappear, but it no longer participates. There is nothing to identify with and nothing to protect. At T-stepped, even the concept of rest becomes unnecessary. Rest is no longer contrasted with activity, because activity is no longer referenced. There is only the absence of disturbance, and this absence sustains itself naturally. The nervous system recognizes this condition as complete and does not attempt to alter it. There is no readiness anywhere in the system. No vigilance remains. No scanning occurs. Nothing waits for change. Nothing prepares to resume. The night does not move toward morning in any perceptible way. It remains exactly as it is, stable and unmarked. If awareness flickers briefly, it does so without consequence. There is no reorientation, no reset, no return to narrative or form. The flicker dissolves back into the same continuity that holds everything else. Nothing interrupts the state. Nothing disrupts the quiet. This continuity does not deepen or shallow. It does not progress. It does not conclude. It remains even, steady, and self-sustaining. There is no edge to locate and no boundary to cross. The system rests within a condition that requires no memory, no intention, and no awareness to continue. The night holds this state effortlessly, allowing sleep to remain deep, uninterrupted, and unobserved. Long after attention has faded and long after the idea of resting has lost all meaning. BLOCK8 WHEN. Continuity nitrogen monoxide longer feels present and remains anyway. As the night continues without marking itself, continuity no longer needs to be perceived in order to exist. It remains quietly, independently of awareness, holding everything in place without announcing its presence. There is no sense of entering a deeper state or moving beyond anything that came before. The experience has flattened into a stable condition where nothing changes enough to be noticed. And this lack of change allows the body and mind to remain fully disengaged. The body no longer presents itself as something to be felt. Sensation has softened into neutrality, evenly distributed and without contrast. There is no clear signal from muscles, skin, or posture that asks for attention. Support is no longer registered as pressure or contact. It has become an assumed background, reliable enough to disappear from awareness entirely. The nervous system rests within this assumption and no longer checks for confirmation. Breathing continues without rhythm becoming noticeable. There is no sense of air moving in or out. Breath feels continuous rather than cyclical, as if it were happening somewhere outside the field of awareness altogether. This continuity removes another potential anchor for wakefulness, allowing attention to remain unformed and diffuse. The mind has fully released its tendency to organize experience. There is no sequencing of moments, no comparison to earlier states, no recognition of having arrived anywhere. If impressions arise, they remain vague and incomplete, dissolving before they can acquire meaning or direction. There is no awareness of thinking and no awareness of not thinking. Both distinctions have lost relevance. Time has dissolved beyond recognition. There is no sense of duration or passing. The night does not feel long or short. It does not feel like it is continuing or nearing an end. It simply remains, steady and unmarked, without time to track. The mind has no reference point to orient itself, and orientation fades naturally. Sound exists only as uniform consistency. Words, if they are perceived at all, do not arrive as language or message. They blend seamlessly into silence, forming a continuous tonal field that does not rise or fall. Listening does not require effort and does not invite a response. It has become irrelevant to rest. The sense of self is now soft beyond usefulness. There is no center from which experience is being observed. There is no boundary separating inner from outer. Experience exists without ownership or location, steady and neutral. Identity has not vanished, but it has stepped completely out of the process. Nothing needs to be recognized or remembered. At this depth, even the idea of sleeping has lost meaning. Sleep is no longer contrasted with wakefulness. It is simply the absence of disturbance. The nervous system recognizes this absence as complete and does not attempt to adjust or deepen it. Everything required for rest is already present. There is no readiness left anywhere in the system. No anticipation, no scanning, no subtle preparation for change. The night does not lean forward. It does not prepare to release. It holds everything evenly, without edge or emphasis. If awareness flickers briefly, it does so without forming orientation or concern. Nothing resets. Nothing resumes. The flicker dissolves back into the same quiet continuity that has been holding everything all along. Rest remains uninterrupted and self-sustaining. The night continues in this way, steady and sufficient, allowing sleep to remain deep, unobserved, and effortless, without requiring attention, memory, or intention to persist. As this condition continues, without marking itself, even the sense of continuity fades from awareness, not because it has ended, but because it no longer needs to be perceived. What remains is a stable background that does not shift, deepen, or progress. There is no movement toward anything else, and no reference to what came before. The night holds this state evenly, allowing everything to remain exactly as it is, without attention returning to observe it. The body exists without presenting itself as sensation. There is no clear signal from muscles, joints, or skin that invites awareness to check or adjust. The surface beneath the body is no longer felt as contact or pressure. It has become an assumption rather than an experience. This assumption is so reliable that the nervous system no longer verifies it. Support exists without being confirmed. Breathing continues quietly and efficiently, but without rhythm becoming apparent. There is no sense of air entering or leaving. Breath feels continuous rather than cyclical, as if it were happening outside the field of awareness. This removes another anchor that could draw attention back toward form. Without anchors, awareness remains diffuse and unformed. The mind has completely released its organizing function. There is no assembling of moments, no comparison, no recognition of being in any particular state. If impressions arise, they remain incomplete and dissolve immediately, leaving no trace. There is no awareness of thinking and no awareness of silence. Both distinctions have lost meaning. Time has disappeared as a structure altogether. There is no duration, no passing, no waiting. The night does not feel like it is continuing or approaching anything. It feels static in the most restful sense. Without time to reference, anticipation cannot form. And without anticipation, the system remains fully disengaged. Sound exists only as uniform presence. Words, if perceived at all, do not arrive as language or information. They blend seamlessly into silence, creating a steady tonal field that does not vary. Listening no longer feels relevant. It neither happens nor stops happening. It simply does not matter. The sense of self has dissolved beyond usefulness. There is no center of experience, and no boundary between inner and outer. Experience exists without ownership, location, or orientation. Identity has stepped completely out of participation. There is nothing to identify with, and nothing to protect. At this depth, even the idea of rest has become unnecessary. Rest is no longer contrasted with activity, because activity is no longer a reference. There is only the absence of disturbance, and this absence sustains itself without attention or effort. The nervous system recognizes this condition as complete and remains inactive. There is no vigilance anywhere in the system, no scanning for change, no readiness to respond. Nothing prepares to return. The night does not lean toward morning in any perceptible way. It remains even, stable, and unmarked. If awareness flickers briefly, it does so without forming orientation or concern. Nothing resets. Nothing resumes. The flicker dissolves back into the same quiet condition that has been present all along. There is no interruption and no need for continuity to be restored, because nothing was ever broken. This state does not deepen or conclude. It does not resolve or transition. It remains exactly as it is, steady and sufficient, allowing sleep to continue long after awareness has faded and long after the idea of sleeping has lost all relevance. The night holds everything in this way, effortlessly and without boundary, sustaining a condition where nothing needs to happen, nothing needs to be remembered, and nothing needs to be noticed for rest to remain complete. Block 9 WHEN. Nothing holds attention and rest continues without reference. As the night remains unchanged and unmarked, there is no longer any internal sense of entering, leaving, or remaining within a state. The idea of states itself has dissolved. What remains is a stable condition where nothing rises enough to be noticed and nothing falls away enough to be missed. This stability does not feel heavy or dense. It feels neutral, even, and reliable, allowing the body and mind to remain disengaged without effort. The body exists without presenting form. Sensation has softened beyond distinction, spreading evenly without edges or focal points. There is no signal from posture, contact, or pressure that invites adjustment. The surface beneath the body is no longer perceived as separate. Support has become background, assumed and unquestioned. The nervous system rests fully within this assumption and no longer checks for confirmation. Breathing continues quietly without pattern becoming apparent. There is no clear inhale or exhale to follow. Breath feels continuous rather than rhythmic, happening outside the field of awareness. This continuity removes another potential anchor for wakefulness. Without anchors, attention does not gather. It remains diffuse and unformed. The mind has released all organizing activity. There is no sequencing of moments, no recognition of continuity, and no awareness of time passing. If impressions appear, they do not form content. They dissolve immediately, leaving no residue. There is no awareness of thinking and no awareness of silence. Both distinctions have lost meaning. Time no longer exists as a reference point. There is no duration, no waiting, and no sense of progression. The night does not feel like it is continuing or nearing an end. It simply remains. Without time to orient against, anticipation cannot form. And without anticipation, the system remains fully settled. Sound exists only as uniform presence. Words, if perceived at all, do not arrive as language. They blend into silence without contrast, forming a consistent tonal field that does not rise or fall. Listening no longer feels relevant. It neither happens nor stops happening. It simply does not matter. The sense of self has faded beyond relevance. There is no observer and nothing being observed. Experience exists without ownership or location. Identity is stepped completely out of participation. There is nothing to identify with and nothing to protect. At these depths, even the concept of rest has disappeared. Rest is no longer contrasted with activity, because activity is no longer referenced. There is only the absence of disturbance, and this absence sustains itself naturally. The nervous system recognizes this condition as complete and remains inactive. There is no vigilance left anywhere in the system. No scanning, no readiness, no subtle preparation for change. The night does not lean toward morning in any perceptible way. It remains even, stable, and unmarked. If awareness flickers briefly, it does so without orientation or concern. Nothing resets. Nothing resumes. The flicker dissolves back into the same quiet condition that has been present all along. There is no interruption and no need for continuity to be restored. This state does not deepen or conclude. It does not resolve or transition. It remains exactly as it is, steady and sufficient, allowing sleep to continue long after awareness has faded and long after the idea of sleeping has lost all relevance. As the night continues without any signal of transition, there is no internal movement toward awareness and no pull toward thought. Everything that once created orientation has softened beyond relevance. The system no longer checks for change because change is no longer expected. What remains is an even condition, steady and unmarked, holding itself without effort or supervision. The body exists without form becoming apparent. There is no sense of weight increasing or decreasing, no pressure to adjust, no sensation that stands out enough to be named. Support remains implicit and unquestioned, reliable enough to disappear from awareness entirely. The nervous system rests fully within this reliability, maintaining stillness without monitoring. Breathing continues quietly without rhythm or pattern being noticed. There is no sense of air entering or leaving, no pause to register. Breath feels continuous rather than cyclical, occurring outside the field of attention. Without breath as a reference, awareness has no anchor to gather around and remains diffuse and unformed. The mind has released all structure. There is no organization of experience into moments, no recognition of before or after, no memory forming, and no expectation arising. If impressions appear, they remain vague and incomplete, dissolving immediately, without trace. There is no awareness of thinking and no awareness of silence. Both distinctions have lost meaning. Time is fully dissolved as a concept. There is no duration, no passing, no waiting. The night does not feel as if it is continuing or nearing an end. It remains static in the most restful sense. Without time as a reference, anticipation cannot form. And without anticipation, the system remains fully disengaged. Sound exists only as uniform presence. Words, if perceived at all, do not arrive as language or instruction. They blend seamlessly into silence, forming a steady tonal field that does not rise or fall. Listening does not feel active or passive. It simply no longer matters. The sense of self has softened beyond usefulness. There is no observer and no boundary separating inner from outer. Experience exists without ownership, location, or identity. Nothing needs to be identified, and nothing needs to be protected. At T-stepped, even the idea of rest has dissolved. Rest is no longer contrasted with activity, because activity has lost relevance. There is only the absence of disturbance, and this absence sustains itself naturally without effort or attention. The nervous system recognizes this condition as complete and remains inactive. There is no vigilance anywhere in the system, no scanning for change, no readiness to respond. Nothing prepares to return. The night does not lean toward morning in any perceptible way. It remains even, stable, and unmarked. If awareness flickers briefly, it does so without orientation or concern. Nothing resets. Nothing resumes. The flicker dissolves back into the same quiet condition that has been present all along. There is no interruption and no need for continuity to be restored, because nothing was ever broken. This condition does not deepen or resolve. It does not transition or conclude. It remains exactly as it is, steady and sufficient, allowing sleep to continue long after awareness has faded and long after the idea of sleeping has lost all relevance. The night holds everything in this way, effortlessly and without boundary, sustaining a field where nothing needs to happen, nothing needs to be remembered, and nothing needs to be noticed for rest to remain complete. Block 10. When nothing holds shape and rest continues without recognition, as the night remains unchanged and unmarked, there is no longer any internal distinction between presence and absence, between awareness and rest. What remains is a steady condition where nothing rises enough to be noticed and nothing falls away enough to be missed. This condition does not feel like depth increasing or settling further. It feels ebb and neutral and complete, holding itself without effort or reference. The body and mind remain within it naturally, without needing to recognize that anything is happening at all. The body no longer presents form or sensation in a way that draws attention. There is no awareness of limbs, weight, or position. Contact with the surface beneath has softened into assumption rather than experience. Support is no longer felt as pressure or stability. It is simply accepted without verification. The nervous system rests fully inside this acceptance and no longer checks for confirmation that rest is safe or sufficient. Breathing continues quietly, but without rhythm becoming perceptible. There is no sense of inhale beginning or exhale ending. Breath feels continuous rather than cyclical, occurring outside the field of attention. Without breath as a reference point, awareness has no anchor to gather around and remains diffuse, unformed, and optional. The mind has released all remaining structure. There is no organization of experience into moments, no recognition of continuity, no comparison to what came before. If impressions arise, they remain vague and incomplete, dissolving before they can become thoughts or images. There is no awareness of thinking and no awareness of silence. Both distinctions have lost relevance. Time is fully dissolved as a meaningful concept. There is no sense of duration, passing, or waiting. The night does not feel as though it is continuing or approaching anything. It remains static in the most restful sense. Without time to orient against, anticipation cannot arise. And without anticipation, the system remains entirely disengaged. Sound exists only as uniform presence. Words, if perceived at all, do not arrive as language or meaning. They blend seamlessly into silence, forming a steady tonal field that does not rise or fall. Listening no longer feels active or passive. It has become irrelevant to rest, neither occurring nor stopping. The sense of self has softened beyond usefulness. There is no observer and nothing being observed. Experience exists without ownership, location, or identity. Nothing needs to be identified or protected. Identity has stepped completely out of participation. leaving experience neutral and unmarked. At these depths, even the idea of rest has disappeared. Rest is no longer contrasted with activity, because activity is no longer referenced. There is only the absence of disturbance, and this absence sustains itself without effort or awareness. The nervous system recognizes this condition as complete and does not attempt to modify it. There is no vigilance anywhere in the system, no scanning for change, no readiness to respond. Nothing prepares to return. The night does not lean toward morning in any perceptible way. It remains even, stable, and sufficient, holding everything without emphasis or direction. If awareness flickers briefly, it does so without forming orientation or concern. Nothing resets. Nothing resumes. The flicker dissolves back into the same quiet condition that has been present all along. There is no interruption and no need for continuity to be restored, because nothing was ever broken. This state does not deepen, resolve, or conclude. It does not transition or prepare. It remains exactly as it is, steady and complete, allowing sleep to continue long after awareness has faded and long after the idea of sleeping has lost all relevance. As this condition remains unchanged, there is no longer any sense that something is being maintained or carried forward. Continuity no longer feels like an experience and no longer needs to be recognized in order to persist. What remains is a stable field where nothing requires attention, effort, or confirmation. The night does not deepen or lighten. It does not move. It remains evenly present, allowing everything within it to stay exactly as it is without reference or orientation. The body exists without signaling itself. There is no sensation distinct enough to invite awareness back toward form. Weight does not increase or decrease. Contact does not announce itself as pressure. The surface beneath the body is neither firm nor soft in awareness. It has become irrelevant, reliable enough to disappear completely. The nervous system rests fully within this reliability, no longer verifying safety or comfort, because nothing suggests the need to do so. Breathing continues without rhythm becoming noticeable. There is no sense of beginning, middle, or end to the breath. It feels continuous, unbroken, occurring outside the field of attention. Without breath as a reference point, awareness has nowhere to gather. It remains diffuse, unshaped, and unnecessary. The mind no longer forms structures of any kind. There is no sequencing, no labeling, no comparison. If impressions arise, they do not organize themselves into thoughts. They dissolve immediately, leaving no trace. There is no awareness of silence and no awareness of sound. Both have merged into the same neutral presence. Time has no function here. There is no duration to feel and no moment to anticipate. The night does not feel as though it is continuing or nearing anything else. It remains static, not frozen, but unmarked. Without time as a framework, anticipation cannot arise. And without anticipation, nothing prepares to change. Sound, including the sound of words, exists only as uniform texture. It does not communicate and does not vary. Listening does not happen actively, and it does not stop happening either. It has lost relevance entirely. Silence and sound are indistinguishable at this depth. The sense of self has faded beyond participation. There is no observer located anywhere and nothing being observed. Experience exists without ownership, without center, without boundary. Identity does not disappear, but it has stepped completely out of the process. Nothing needs to be identified, remembered, or protected. At this depth, even the idea of rest is dissolved. Rest is no longer something occurring. It is simply what remains when disturbance is absent. The nervous system recognizes this absence as complete and does not attempt to deepen, sustain, or adjust it. There is no vigilance anywhere in the system, no scanning for change, no readiness to respond. Nothing prepares to resume. The night does not lean toward morning in any perceptible way. It remains even, sufficient, and unchanging. If awareness flickers briefly, it does so without orientation or consequence. nothing resets. Nothing resumes. The flicker dissolves back into the same neutral condition that has been present all along. There is no interruption and no need for continuity to be restored, because nothing was ever disrupted. This condition does not resolve, conclude, or transition. It does not prepare for anything else. It remains exactly as it is, steady and complete, allowing sleep to continue indefinitely, long after awareness has faded and long after the idea of sleeping has lost all relevance.